Bitcoin indicator echoes early November vibe that presaged a 40% price explosion. Well, that sounds pretty good. So what happened there? I remember talking about this. This is talking about Bollinger Band and how that it was a tightening of the Bollinger Band, right? Like it was a squeeze, and when you squeeze it enough, it causes an explosion, all right? And I remember talking about it before, and there wasn't a lot happening until boom, we started going upwards, right? So we're seeing that right now, like after we broke upwards, it's been basically Bollinger Bands just measures like volatility, and our volatility so far has been almost non-existent since we've got into the 90s, right? And now into the 100. Like we had basically no dips at all, right? Before, you guys remember, in the 60s and a little bit in the 70s, we had some massive dips. Remember going from like 70 down to like 50,000, like those were like massive dips. Ever since we got into the 90s, have we fallen from like 90 down to 70? No. Have we fallen to 80? No. The biggest drop we have seen in the 90s is like 99 down to 92. That was the biggest drop we have seen. It's been really stable, right? So that's why Bollinger Band is basically it's narrowing, and that's what's showing. Usually when you go through this like very narrow gap, something big is going to happen. Like you either explode upwards or downwards, but the way the market is, it's looking like it's probably going to explode upwards in a big way, right? Right before the end of the year. That's what it looks like. Especially also when you compound that with all the Bitcoin that's leaving too, the supply shock that's happening. Look at this headline. Bitcoin is leaving exchanges in batches of 10 million or more. So every single time, you're seeing these transfers out of Coinbase or Crypto.com or wherever. They're in huge chunks, right? So whales, ETFs, whoever, when they're buying by the boatload. It's not small amounts. The supply shock is real. Again, not a whole lot of people pay attention to this, but this is happening in front of our eyes. This is the reason why Bitcoin is 6 digits, 6 figures. I've been talking about this for years. What happens when Bitcoin finally hits 6 figures? It's like this big psychological moment that has finally come. But I still think people just think it's just a number. I don't think people have really grasped what that means. Like, have you guys really thought about it takes $100,000 to buy a single Bitcoin? $101,000 to buy a single Bitcoin. How many people on this planet or in this country or in your neighborhood has the ability at this point in time to go withdraw $101,000 from their bank account to go buy a single Bitcoin? I mean, just take a second to think about that. It's less than 1%. It's probably less than that. At this point in time, you go ask them to do it. How many people have the ability right now in real time to be able to withdraw $100,000 to buy a single Bitcoin right now? I'd say it's less than 1% out there, right? It's insanely impressive to hold one Bitcoin. It really is. And people don't realize that. I mean, right now it's just a number that's out there, but if you really grasp the gravity of what this means, it's actually quite insane. And it's going to get more insane because it's not going to stop. This supply shock that's been happening, and I've been talking about it since 60,000, and people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. If there's a supply shock, the number should be going up higher. It builds up, and it's going to keep building. This is the price of Bitcoin versus the ETF inflows, right? And there's been times, yeah, ETF inflows goes up, but Bitcoin's price didn't follow. But look at it now, the price has caught up, very fast. And there will be times like this where maybe the price doesn't follow, but that inflow is going to keep on going up. It's not going to stop. The inflow is not all of a sudden going to come down. It's going to keep going up. This is going to be forever. Wall Street and the world will forever be FOMOing into Bitcoin. This is like one of those Pandora boxes that has been opened, and it's never going to be closed again. And even outside of ETFs, I mean, just look at like what Saylor have done. He alone bought 21,000 Bitcoin on top of the 29,000 bought from the ETFs. And then he caused Mara to buy 12,000 Bitcoin. And then Riot and others are also like buying. I mean, this is just last week. This is not like we're talking about a month or a year. This is just what happened last week. This is insane. This is what you call insanity. The ETFs now hold over 500,000 Bitcoin in cumulative, and will continue to do so. Continue to add more and more and more, and more and more and more, and more, and it's gonna keep on going. And what's interesting is now BlackRock Fidelity is starting to purchase more ETH, and is this in response? So I don't know. This is the chicken or egg thing. Okay. So this may have a lot to do with the second part of what I'm going to talk about, which is like Trump, right? Or is it the other way around? But this is interesting. Obviously, they both have a ETH ETF, and it's been ongoing for a while. It hasn't been popular. I mean, the inflow, outflow, I mean, it's been there, but like hasn't really caused a whole lot of movement for ETH. But that could be changing. You know, that there's something going on. There's something brewing with this.